Okay, hello again guys, another squirrel feeder video here. So, I haven't been out to squirrel feeders very much recently because there's not been a lot of action at them, because I imagine because there's been so much natural food in all the trees, etc. The squirrels just not travelling the distance to the feeder perhaps and so on. Feed's been going down a lot slower than normal. Picked up recently, so I came out today, gonna sit at the feeder and see how it goes. So stick with me, and we'll see what turns up and how the day goes. Okay, guys, just a few points I need to or would like to speak to you about on this video first. So this video is filmed through the Wulf 4K scope, and I've set the film rate at 200 frames per second. Now I normally have it on 1080p at 120 frames per second. Now I set it at 200 frames per second by mistake, and that has a couple of repercussions. One is it doesn't record the reticle that I'm looking at through the scope, so it's just a plain screen. And the other one, it seems to mess up the sound on occasion, so the sound doesn't sync with the video. Now I don't know if that's the scope, the SD card I've got, or even the software that I'm using, but that's a couple of things to look at. So I've tried to put a bit of sound in here and there or something. If things don't quite look or sound sort of perfect, that's why. But the good thing about that is at 200 frames per second, on some of these shots you can see the pellet hit the squirrel so well. You can see it literally leaving the barrel and going straight into the squirrel, so make sure you stick around and look for those shots. So let's carry on with the video. Thanks very much. So this is the first squirrel of the day, and as you can see there's no reticle in this sort of video as such, although with me looking through the scope I can see a reticle perfectly clear. The other thing to say is the sound hissing, if you like, whatever you can hear on the side. I'm sat right next to a stream on my left hand side. We've had a lot of rain, and that's really being picked up from the recording and so on some of this sort of video. But here's that squirrel, and eventually he does make his way up towards the feeder. Now I zoom in there thinking I'm going to get a shot off there, but nope, off he goes. And a bit of a funny one this, there's a series of shots here, perfectly positioned, and I take the shot and it's a miss. So I reload and wait for him to present himself there. I take another one, which I think he ducks out of, but catch up with him right here. So good headshot, and he bounces off down the bank. Now at this point I wasn't 100% happy with the way he bounced down the bank, so I stand up to make sure he's dispatched properly, which indeed he is. And you'll certainly see that because I'll replay those last couple of shots in slow motion here. So here's the first miss. You'll see it go over the right hand shoulder as we're looking at him. No idea why that went there, to be honest. Here's the next shot, and I think he ducks out of it. Ooh. But wait till you see this next shot. Perfectly placed right in his temple. How about that? So yeah, instant dispatch, and as usual just his nerves rolling him down the bank. Now because I did have a couple of misses, I thought I'd recheck my zero, and you can see a couple of shots earlier from where I checked my zero before. And as you can see the sound is a bit off, but that one was a little bit high, so I thought to myself again, I'll try another shot or another position. And that's another shot, basically pellet on one of the marks there. But again, I take a shot there and follow it up to be sure, like that. So yeah, I don't know what happened with the first shot, but I seem to be happy with it, so let's get on with it. Now I've picked up a squirrel coming in on my thermal, and I double check again, but he's rushing right in along the usual route across the top of this branch, you'll see in just a second, and towards the feeder. So put the scope camera on, there he is, across that branch, and he's right below the feeder now, and he comes into there, but for whatever reason he decides to just hightail it out of there. Now I do keep my eye on him, but basically he just goes up into the tree tops and away. Here's a little bit of wildlife. This Mr. Robin kept coming out of the trees and saying hello to me. It was quite nice to see him throughout the morning, flickering in and out. It's always good to see a nice bit of wildlife, as you'll see in this video. But Mr. Robin, you will need to be very careful sat there. So there's the feeder where he's taking my nuts from. But look at this next visitor we had. Now I wouldn't necessarily say it was wildlife, because I'm guessing it's a she from the collar. But nice little cat, taking a trip through. Mr. Sparrow is obviously disappeared. But I think she seemed to know where she was going, because she just walked straight on off and away. Right, now here's a little bit of footage of a squirrel bounding away in the trees, and you'll see me following it freehand, hoping he would stop so I could get a shot, but he didn't, he just bounded through the trees. But this is just one of 2 or 3 that came into the feeder, and I'm sure they clocked me and just disappeared. Now they seem really skittish this morning. Normally they see me, freeze, I shoot them and it's game over. So at this point I thought I'd try and relocate a little bit more out of view. Okay, I've relocated now, as you can possibly see, to the left hand side. I was sat in that gap right there, but I've relocated around to the left in front of that tree come bush, and that seems to not freak out the squirrels as much. As you can see, you can just about make out in the main picture the squirrel feeder with the squirrel on the top. But there's this squirrel, and he comes down straight onto the feeder, but he is hell-bent on chewing the lid off of my feeder, as you will see. So he just keeps chewing and chewing away on top of my feeder, not realising there's a big opening further down with all the nuts spilling out of. But he keeps having a go at my feeder, and as you can see, the insert picture I've got there, that's the scope cam, the rifle cam if you like, without the reticle on it of course, and I'm just keeping my eye on him, waiting for him to keep still where I can take the shot. But eventually he gives up on trying to chew the lid off my top of my feeder there, and realises there's an easier option further down, and makes his way down to the feeder. Okay, so here he goes, and he presents himself really lovely. Just wait for the shot and the sound of this. Whoa. The sound really echoes well, and it's picked up from my action camera, not so well from the scope cam camera. But wait till you see this shot slowed down. It's awesome. So good, yeah. Now we've got 2, happy with that. Did take a long time for that next one to come round, But what I'm saying here is that relocating just round the side of there seems to work better. So here's that last shot slowed down. And just watch and follow the pellet as it smacks home right between the eyes. Perfect shot here. I think that's worth another look, guys. So how's this for an awesome view of a shot? Here's another visitor that we had in the morning. Really nice to see a bit more wildlife. Now I do hear quite a few muntjacs when I'm in these woods, but I've not actually seen one before. So it was nice to actually put eyes on one for once. And he has a little stroll through before he realises, I think, that I'm there, as you'll see in a moment. Take a bit of a closer look at him. A handsome fella. But at this point I think he picks me up. Yep. With a bit of movement I was doing or something. And he scoots up into that bit of brush or whatever there. Has one last look at me before he shoots off into the distance and does the usual squawking away, warning or whatever call it is. Okay guys, this squirrel came shooting along the branch and stopped in that bit of cover, if you like, right there. And he was there for quite some time. And you can just make him out flicking with a bit of movement now and again. I kept watching him through my thermal and he was glowing so much right there, but he just would not present himself with a shot at all. He just stayed right there, and he was there for what seemed to be absolutely ages. So I've just put the last bit of scope cam footage on because there's the feeder, he's right above it. So I've been waiting patiently for ages until eventually he does make a move for the feeder. But he's just been in that cover all that time, not presenting me with a shot. But finally, after watching him for what seemed an age, he makes a move for the feeder. Here he comes, and I'm thinking, yeah, here we go, it's going to be bang on. And he grabs a nut, and scoots down onto the floor, and scoots away the little critter. Cheeky bugger. Now here again, we almost have the same scenario as the last one. This squirrel came right in and was covered with all that foliage and branches and so on for ages, and eventually he just moved out to there where I could see him. Now again, I've been sat here for quite some time, and for some reason he is just not making a move. So after sort of watching him for all this time, I'm confident of these JSB Hades out of this FX Dreamline. So I decide to take the shot. I can see enough, and I go for it just below the branch, right into his temple. So here we go. Wallop! And it's a perfect shot. He drops to the floor, does the usual squirrel breakdance and rolls down and bang. But you'll see what a perfect shot it was when I slow down the replay. And I'm happy with that. Now, I'd forgotten that I'd cocked the magazine for the last squirrel that I thought I was going to get a shot at. So I had to shoot the magazine out as I cocked it. for this one. So put the magazine back in. I normally, yep, 3 for the day. Line the scope up on the feeder, fold the stock to give me plenty of room. Just line it up and leave it there. So again, happy with that shot. Here's that last shot slowed down, and you can see how well these JSB Hades and the FX Dreamline, there you go, how well they're working together. Really happy with the way they're performing. I think that's worth another look, isn't it? Okay guys, I'm going to call it a day there, I think. It's been a mix and match kind of morning, as you've seen. Like I say, originally I was sat much more out in the open, which typically at this position, in this place, doesn't make a big difference. They still come into the feeder. Quite often they clock me stall and freeze, and I shoot them off the main branches and so on. But today they've definitely been a lot more skittish. Hopefully if I picked up some of the footage you'd have seen, and I basically realised that they didn't like me sort of out there and weren't behaving like they used to, sort of still coming into the feeder and sort of freezing. So I relocated myself behind this big bit of stuff, and that did make a bit of a difference, and a couple more came in, etc. So did manage to get a few today, which is good, but certainly plenty more here by the looks of it. And I think I missed the opportunity of several, as you'd have probably seen, and probably quite a few more that spooked off before I even got the cameras rolling, etc. But I've had a very enjoyable morning. The weather's been good. Seen a nice little bit of wildlife, haven't we? That's what it's all about. Getting outside in the fresh air, just sitting here and enjoying the surroundings and everything. So hope you enjoyed the video. If you are a subscriber, thank you very much. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. There's plenty more videos like this with a lot more sort of shots on them and so on in my catalogue, if that's what you want to call it. But yeah, check out the channel, and hopefully maybe I'll get to the feeders a bit more now. Hopefully the weather, well I won't say hopefully, but I think the weather's about to change in the UK now. It's certainly getting a bit colder. All the leaves may drop soon, and when all that natural food is gone and so on, the feeders will become a bit more like magnets, and we'll see a lot more squirrels probably. So but that's it for today. Usual kit in this sort of position, FX Dreamline with the Wulf 4K on it. Did have a funny first few shots with it, don't quite understand that. Checked the zero, seemed okay, it's been alright since. So okay, see you all again. Oops, I'm losing you guys, I'm losing you. There we are. See you all again soon on the next one. Keep yourself safe, and thanks very much for watching.